welcome to Pries Capital. You must be the new recruit.
Oh, is this the new recruit?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Follow me, Mr. Superstar. Here at Pries Capital, we love showcasing art. The stunning bronze dragon sculpture Pico by the renowned artist Nano Lopez is definitely a showstopper. And these pieces on the walls, the legendary Michael Godard is practically a rock star in the art world. There's art all over the office, creating a vibrant, creative atmosphere to work in and collaborate in. And here is Tyler Pries, our hardworking mortgage loan officer. If you're looking to purchase real estate in the Myrtle Beach area, Tyler's the guy to know.
Looks like you have your hands full. Ashlyn, can you grab a book for him? And I'll see you at the meeting.
And here's Raj, one of Jason's right-hand guys for commodities trading. Good morning, Raj.
Good morning.
Meet the new recruit.
Hi. Hope you like to work hard and play hard. This is a high-stakes environment. Split-second decisions can make or break an opportunity. Welcome to the firm.
Don't worry about Raj. He's a quiet powerhouse, but he's critical to everything we do here. And here's the founder and real estate powerhouse herself, Tina Price.
Good morning. How are you? So glad to have you with us. Can't wait to see you in action. We're just about ready to start the meeting for Jason's market analysis. I will see you both in the conference room.
Good morning, Jason. This is the new recruit.
Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Your skill set is exactly what we need. I love people dedicated to their craft. But hey, I got to get ready for this morning's analysis, so I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Jason. You're awesome. Right here, we have one of our many conference rooms. And down the hallway over here, we have the intelligent and sharp-eyed Miss Jill.
Why, thank you, Ashlyn. Nice to meet you.
Jill thrives in the world of spreadsheets, balance sheets, and financial forecasts.
You'll fit right in, so go check out your new office.
And here's your new office. And over here, we have some welcome goodies for you. Just a small thank you of saying welcome to the family. Okay, so I've got to get ready for the meeting, but check out the gym over here, grab some coffee and bagels in this room to the right, then I'll meet you in the conference room.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, take a seat. Welcome back to another morning market analysis. Let's get comfortable and dive in.
What a session yesterday. That was one of those days where the market reminded us why patience and preparation matters. Strong movement, clean rotations, and plenty of opportunity for traders who stayed disciplined. If you traded it well, you likely finished Thursday with confidence, and that sets up the stage perfectly for what could be a very special Friday. Coming into this morning, we're carrying the momentum of big upside move from yesterday, and that alone is the first and most important clue. After a strong directional days like that, the crowd's instinct is always the same. Chase strength and buy pullbacks whenever they appear. But not all pullbacks are created equal. Good morning, and welcome back to another Team Day Trader edition to the Daily Market Analysis. Settle in, grab your coffee, and let's prepare for today's trading session. As always, take a moment to subscribe and explore the resources linked in the description below. James, how's it going? Robert, how's it going? Shout out to everybody on the stream. Really quick, before I get going, I want to make a couple housekeeping just so I get that out of the way and we can move on. One is this is the last live market analysis for 2025. We have a big cruise with a whole bunch of good friends. With me and the wife, there's like, I don't know, 14 or so of us going. I don't know, there's a bunch of us. It's like half a dozen or so couples, and we're gonna go on a cruise, and so we won't be back for a while. And then you got Christmas and the holidays, family and friends. So we're quite busy until the end of the year. So I just wanted to kind of, one, throw that out there, let everybody know. So, you know, next week and really all the way until 2026, right? The beginning of the year, you're not anticipating these. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I wanted to say that going into 2026, just keep your eyes open, and I'm sure I'll talk about this many times, but I know I talked to James about this yesterday, as me and him talked a little bit last night, is I do want to, talking about the cruise, is I'm going to try to put together a cruise possibly next year, just for us day traders, so kind of like a day trading event and a cruise, a very close knit. This won't be no 1,000-person ballroom event, stage, yada yada yada. It'll be more of probably 20 or so people, maybe 10 couples, something like that. Keep it more personal and in person, some kind of cruise going into 2026, and either that or early 2027, but more than likely end of 2026. So I'll just kind of throw that out there. I know we've been talking about whether it's a Pries Capital and or Team Day Trader kind of event with a few special clients and or market participants, such as anybody here watching the stream. So keep your eyes out for that. Third thing that I want to say before I leave you guys in 2025, going into 2026, I want you guys to know, just so you guys know, I know we talk about this, you guys, this is the morning market analysis. Now there's a back to this. I usually don't show that because that's personal statistics back testing, but this gets printed every day. So when you guys see this and we talk about the morning market analysis, that morning market analysis is done every day. And I want to make this thing, because I know this is YouTube, right? I don't do it for you guys necessarily. This whole thing that I do, I do this no matter if I hit the play button to start the stream or not. This is something that I do part of my daily routine as a professional, what I consider a professional day trader. So these things that I do, and the only reason I'm bringing this up today is because if anybody's watching this, what I want you to take away is, what are you doing in your life as it pertains to, I guess how serious you're taking day trading. Is this something that you're trying to take at a daily level, at a professional level? Is it something that you're trying to get a living wage off of? Is it just, vacation money? I don't know, whoever's watching this, however that goes. But I know for me, and, anybody meets my wife, she can conclude that when I write these out in the morning and I do my homework and I journal and everything else, that my trading performance is a lot better than when I don't. And I want you guys to see, maybe you guys see this on my desk, but this is, this is, the journaling every day of, every day's trading. So just to kind of show people, I usually, in my life, I lead by an example. I was never a student that, a teacher's in front of the chalkboard and, yelling at you as a child or as a student in the classrooms and speaking at you. I was more of a hands-on kind of guy. I wanted to be in it and, learn from somebody that's doing it already and just let me shadow over your shoulder, or what exactly are you doing, and lead by that example. So I just want to, if you're first new, coming into this or whatever, just little things that I do. And the other thing is right now I do have on, and this is sitting on my desk too. Anybody comes in the office, this is sitting on the desk. This is the Trader Mind Map. I have that sitting on the desk. This is laminated and it's on a, it's in its own case. And that sits right on the corner of my desk. And that's the Trader Mind Map. And what that does is that right? It kind of goes through the mental process of, what's the before stage of trading? What's the right? Let me break this out. Right? So there's a before phase of trading. What should you mentally be preparing for? The during phase, kind of mental mind map of looking through what you should be doing as you're trading in real time. And then the after phase, there's how to, kind of a flow chart of creating a trade plan, money management, and psychology. So all in there. And these are all resources at teamdaytrader.com. Again, what I'm showing you is a reflection of what I do day in, day out, and how I attack this profession, right, or this craft as a professional. So just kind of wanted to, little housekeeping, end of the year, just a reminder of little things that I do, just to show you guys. So I don't think there's any other housekeeping other than that. I just kind of wanted to throw those few things out there, let everybody know, and we'll go from there. Let's get into the dashboard. Y charts, brought to you by Y charts. A little bit of market commentary that I usually just kind of pull up first thing in the morning, right? And this is just my routine. The one thing I will talk about, there's nothing too much on here. The thing that I have been watching is one, we already knew about the Oracle decline on that Thursday. That kind of set a little bit of the tone from yesterday, which got, right, when we look at the index, ES, we all know what happened, right? That big move coming back. But then today, Broadcom, right, they did, they let out earnings. And again, they're down 5.5% to 6%. We're going to look at that. But the other thing I want to also take a look at, just to kind of show you guys that NASDAQ, right, you had the Dow really push hard yesterday and make new all-time highs. And then you had the S&P 500, right, kind of poke its head above that 6,900. And, now we're right at it. We got up to 69.2875 yesterday, and we're pulling back. So we're going to talk about that. But the one thing, just to kind of in context, is the NASDAQ is really just stuck in that hardcore range. I mean, they're pulling all the way back to the midpoint of that range. When you break up a range into thirds, like three quadrants, three different kind of quadrants / distributions, they're back in the middle, whereas, right, the Dow is really right at the yesterday's highs, like right at the highs. It's not gapping, but it's right there. And then you have the S&P 500 up at the upper quadrant if you break it up into thirds. So, and then you got the NASDAQ kind of weak. So we're going to talk about that. 10-year rate really jumping back up 4.18. That's a keep an eye on. Gold is ripping. If we have a chance, maybe I'll pull up a gold chart at the end. I do like a little bit of this pattern just to kind of throw out. There's a pattern in a video that I have on one of my educations, and I call it like the Jason go-to pattern. Really sophisticated. And but I like the way that pattern, there's a pattern in that sequence, and I really like gold. Crude still stuck at that $57. Obviously I've talked to you guys before. My position is that 57.75. So right now it's trading 57.61. I am a little bit underwater in that trade as of in the now. So I am monitoring that. With that said, that's it as far as no big news. The calendar is light today. It's Friday. It's a Friday, so not much on any of the calendars that we have to, the news events that we have to watch out for. Obviously, a lot of news comes out at 8:30 or it comes out at 10. Nothing. The one thing I will say is I'm not going to see you guys next week, but, right, we all know, I'm sure if you guys are trading, right, it's on Twitter or X as they call it. I'm still going to call it Twitter. That's how I remember it. That's how old I am. but where you're going to have CPI and non-farm payrolls next week. So watch those catalysts going into the end of the year. With that, let's bring back up the market analysis. As of 7 o'clock, when I was writing this, a couple of things I want to talk about is, why is that not? Okay. I'm like, why can't I draw? My markers ain't working. 7 o'clock, when I was writing the market analysis, right, we were 16.5 points lower. We are 5.5 points lower. The session opening in balance, we're still in balance. And the overnight skew was negative 1.06. 10-day range is around 50 points. And I think it's exactly like 49 and a quarter is the actual number. So near 50 points. And then I will say that there's no, for me, I'm not rushing on the open. You know, this doesn't feel like it's a, oh man, 9:30 hits, bell's opening, and I got to be, you know, in that trade that first, 2 minutes of trade. That's not the kind of feeling I'm getting in today's open or the tempo / in today. So again, right, this morning as I open up, I'm going to let the market come to me. So that's the way I'm right on the open. 9:30 is I will take a 5 to 15 minute, let some kind of development structure kind of build out and get a good sense of what's happening. And I'm going to talk about that specifically of why that is. But I know this is probably going to be surprising to you guys, where I am still neutral within this broader range. And I want to, and it's again, today is a neutral dash bullish. So I do have a bullish bias directionally, but it's, it's not just a bullish bias. There's a neutral in front of it. So I am neutral with a slight tilt to the long side. So, going in, I'm trying to be as transparent to you guys as possible. And so that's the one thing I always get frustrated when I, whether I watch other people's back in the past when I was young and watching other traders, or that they come in and they give you, oh, well, the market can go up and it can go down, and they give you, and then this is, they'll give you something like that, literally on the screen, where, hey, we're going to open up, and then, it can go this, it can do this, and then it can do that. And that was very frustrating to me as a trader. So when I'm with you guys, I'm literally trying to tell you, like, how does a professional trader come into the market and then, tell another trader, this is how I'm thinking? Well, no shit. It just drives me nuts. And so that's a little bit of a rant, and I'm going to not try to get on that wheel, but that drives me crazy. So with you guys, I'm trying to be I'm going to come into this market. I'm going to come in very open-minded, neutral bias, but there is a long tilt. I am going to kind of look for the long trade and jump in long, with watching to make sure that within that 5 to 15 minutes that thesis is correct, right? So I'm going to allow the market to come to me and show me and prove it, right? And we'll talk about what that looks like without just kind of guessing and just be like, oh, throw on the trade, or come in with a hard bias, right? I definitely am coming in very open-minded, but there is a long, I'm looking at more of a long trade than I am just kind of taking a short. So, now with that context, I am looking at day trade setup 5 for anybody who has my day trade setups, so you can trade along, or, right? I don't want to say trade along, that's probably the wrong analogy, but at least you guys know what I'm looking at coming into today. Day trade setup number 5. And, if day trade, if, if anybody knows the rules and how day trade setup 5 comes in from, right, from the resources on the website, then you know if this happens, then this should happen, if and then, and right, you move from there, and then you know if it doesn't happen, right, then day trade 5, right, is not it, and you have to reassess. But going into this morning, the way I see structure, I'm looking at day trade setup number 5. Couple levels that I do want to talk about is there has been, even though we're stuck, and we'll look at the chart, we're stuck in that larger, the kind of distribution node / range. We're just at the very top of it. There's some levels that we've talked about already, but in intraday trading today, definitely the key support for buyers to hold that initial support is going to be that 68.85. I do not want price to really fall underneath 68.85. That'll be definitely a red flag for me. And then on an intraday key level, as we open up, this level of 69.0575, you know, most of you guys know, it's been with me for a while, right? That Fight Club area, that's going to be a main concern for me. That's why I say that first 5 to 15 minutes, right? I want to see how price reacts in battles, and I'll be watching order flow on the number bar chart and watching, you know, that battle and how that, you know, plays out, right? We are at the upper edge of value, right? So again, right, does acceptance come in and it opens the door to continuation, or do we get rejection and then that signals rotation? So that's the biggest key points that I want to talk about out of that report. As we talked about, you know, even though you have, let's go back now, let's recap a little. As I talked about with the Dow is up, you know, this was Thursday's FOMC, and the Dow is like, you know, way up here, right? You have yesterday's move, it's clearly higher, and then we're up here when you look at the Dow futures. And then we're going to look at the S&P 500. So anyways, when we look at that, you'll see the stark difference between the Dow, the S&P 500, and then you got the NASDAQ, where again, if you take this range right here and you divide it in thirds, right, where you have, this is 1/3, the middle distribution, and then the third distribution. If you cut up a range into 3 sections, right, you're trading right here in the middle, right? Whereas the S&P 500 is up towards the upper part of the range, and then you have the Dow like way clearly above the range, where the Dow is broken out of the range, right? A nice juicy pullback and go would be the ideal situation for the Dow. And then again, you're stuck up here at the S&P 500, up at the upper end of the range. It's definitely not like the Dow where you're up above. You're clearly up above on the Dow. And so that would be like a pullback and hold. And then how does this S&P, as we open up here at the high, right? And again, it's that thing of, and I think I talked about that in the analysis, where you don't want to have a habit, even though Thursday or Wednesday you had that FOMC big push. Yesterday you had yesterday's amazing move that definitely humbles a person, as far as, right? I know I talked about yesterday how the S&P 500, right? You make these highs, and then it's very rare where you undercut the low of the previous day and then come up and overshoot the high, and right, and you got this broadening pattern. Those are rare, and right, definitely humbles you. That's what I love about live stream. If you ever live stream, right, like you gotta be, you know, it really kind of brings everything. And then, when you're wrong, the market definitely makes you look like an idiot sometimes. But in real time, hopefully I go over like how things should look, and you don't get wrecked. And right, so again, in real time yesterday, what do we talk about? They kind of went down in that balance, and then right back on B period, brought that back up. That was like the woo, took out the stop, and then reassessed. And then, like I talked about, if it was going to go up higher, right, you got to be flexible, and hopefully you were flexible. And if you weren't, maybe that's a lesson of teaching you, how to be mentally and learn that skill and hone that in of allowing your brain to mentally be flexible, and don't just hold these biases. Have trade setups, know when they're wrong, take a stop, and then reassess, and then change on the fly. If you've ever been in sports, if you were ever a point guard in basketball, or you were ever a quarterback, or even a running back for that matter, or you could have even been a lineman, or not a lineman, but say a linebacker, right? You kind of coming in and you're assessing in real time, and your mind has to be somewhat flexible, right? Like, you have to be able to shift. Like, all right, this is the plan of attack, but this guy's getting covered, or, the pick and roll didn't work very well. And so, you have to be able to have a lot of strategies and a lot of things going on in your mind. You can't just be a quarterback and be like, hey, I'm going to, throw to Gronk, and that's it. And, you have to have some options, and then be able to be flexible, and then being able to read things in real time to say, hey, that's not you're open or you're not open, right? And so hopefully that analogy opens your mind up to how this game gets played. But with that said, I'll try not to go into that too much. But what we have is the NASDAQ in the center of the range. We have the Broadcom, gapping lower. So that is just something you want to keep on your radar. Again, because the tech index has so much weight in the S&P 500, you do not want to just, ignore these things. Going to the volume profile. Again, as we talked about, where the NASDAQ is in that center of the range, right? You have the S&P 500 up at... So even though this move yesterday and we got above the range, right? Where are we trading? And we're trading right at it. So this is the takeaway, is as this open up, let the market prove to you that we're going to, make a higher high and not roll back into this range, right? You do not want to be long here and then find yourself, this thing rolls over, and then, you know what I mean? We're never coming back to that high. That was the high of the range, and then we're rotating right back down. That's going to be just a bad trade. So, this spot right here is very, very, very tricky. And, when I'm in these situations, I'm usually using a degree of patience in letting the market show me that, this is for real, right? And you do have enough points or range, right? If we are going to take this out and say today's Friday, it's the end of the week, and if you looked at a weekly chart, right, we're just a chip shot to new all-time highs. So if this is the, kind of a little bit of a breakout pullback and then go, then, we should have enough opportunity to take out, because the high is like 69.53 or 69.50. I think it's 59. The exact number is 59 or 69.53 3/4 or something like that. So there's enough squeeze or juice to capitalize on this. So it isn't like, oh my God, I got to jump in right at the open. The other thing that I do want to talk about. And this is, again, if we're not going higher, and if, right, that's not the trade, and day trade setup number 5 is not the trade, then what I will be looking for, if I am wrong, and if anybody knows, so again, most anybody who knows me good or very well, I trade with auction market profile theory, so market profile theory, and then I combine that in with Wyckoff. So there's a lot of my teaching and my kind of, you know, I've studied Fibonacci, I've studied harmonics, I've studied Elliott wave. I mean, I've studied all the different kind of trading theories that are out there. I've done Renko charts, tick charts, time charts. I mean, you know, you name an indicator, I've dang near went through almost all of them. And, right, went through the calculus equation of how they're registered. You know, how does that plot on a chart? What is the calculation? These are all just calculus equations. So, you know, in saying that, when I'm looking at this whole thing together, right? If day trade type 5 is not in play, and if this isn't going up and they rotate this back down, I am going to follow up and watch this play out, as this definitely has a little bit of Wyckoff distribution theory in it, where, right, if anybody knows Wyckoff, right, you are making a move up, you end up settling into a range. This ends up, there's usually, they call this the UT, the up thrust, and then it comes back down as this is a trap, right? Now, they don't call it a trap, but I call it a trap, right? This up thrust. And then it comes down, and then, right, we start this, and then this all becomes, this is just distribution inside of the range, and then, right, we come all the way back down. Now, that hasn't played out just yet, but after yesterday's session, this, if we do not push up this theory, right, is telling us something, and right, you will have to watch that. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm not going to see you guys next week or anything, or till the end of the year. And so this is just something to kind of think about in, as today plays out, however this market plays out going into next week. Think about this. Do some homework. If you're not familiar with this Wyckoff theory, the distribution, there's a distribution phase and there's an accumulation phase. I would, you know, that's some homework I guess you can do. But I would watch to see if this ends up being a UT in the Wyckoff theory. So I'm not trading that right now. That's not a trade. I'm just giving you a little bit of foresight and watching that. So again, if day trade type 5 ain't happening in the longer term, I'm watching that play out. This definitely, you know, tech has to kind of follow along. You have to have, you know, these are indexes. This isn't single stocks. So you have to think of like, how is the index comprised? What's it made of? And, you know, you are going to need the NASDAQ to participate, you know, positively to get the S&P 500 to kind of, right, like bust out. You cannot have the NASDAQ sitting in a trading range or, say, falling down and expect that the S&P is going to go higher, especially when the tech industry, right, is like 40-some% weighted in the S&P 500. That's just not, it's just not going to be realistic expectations. Oh, let's go to the trigger chart, and I'll end on the trigger chart unless anybody's got questions. As we go into this trigger chart, right, day trade setup number 5. As the market opens up, right, like I said, I'm going to kind of be sitting on hands. I would like to see, right, the market open up, get a little trap, right? You got these on a faster time frame, 5-minute time frame, right? We have these inflection lows, right? I would like to see a trap where we get underneath any of these inflections, right? And then using trigger signals, right? Trigger off that and then get, right, the trap, right? 1, 2, get a trap, and then we take off, watching momentum and everything else, right? First target taken out. You know, once we kind of break out above and kind of that, like I talked about, that 69.05 3/4, you know, we kind of get up and above that range, you know, as this is like Fight Club. And if the buyers initiate buying pressure, getting above here, and then right, really clearing, once we kind of get above that 69.2875, which was yesterday's high of day, you know, however this plays out, choppy, do we get like a grinder? Is it a slow tempo? But I would anticipate we kind of clear that yesterday's high, we should be moving upward and onward, right, to the all-time high, and then, right, seeing how much push we get past that. But we should be then making a march, you know, to blue sky territory. Again, on this rollover, if this rolls over, and watch the NQ, watch how the YM, again, right, like the YM has already broke out past its high. So if that pulls back and then you get the NQ pulling back, you know, this will just kind of roll over and get sucked back into that range, right? It'll get sucked back into the range, and then, right, the ideal position will not be day trade type 5. It'll be probably day trade type 3 as this rolls over, and we'll want to get short as we're short up into the highs and then roll back down into, right, the that larger distribution on an hourly chart, right? And again, think Wyckoff. But that's secondary kind of thought process. Primary thought process is day trade type 5, watching for the move and push above, and then, right, making sure I'm correct in that, and then knowing where I'm not, and then where the stop is. Again, that 68.85 is definitely that resistance. We should not see price, if the FOMC was for real and this was for real, right? We should be, again, when you're thinking, we should be, you know, we move up on a longer time frame, we range, we move up, break, pull back, break out, range, right? Maybe a trap, pull up, right? All these different kind of ranges, and then a different kind of looks. This is a breakout, pull back, go. This is into a range. You get a breakdown, trap low, and then take off. And then, you know, what are you doing? You're making a sequence of higher highs and higher lows. I mean, that's how it works in reality, right? But in doing that, you're going to get a little bit of some of these head fakes and traps. I mean, that's the market, you know, screwing with you. So understanding that's how it is. Like, the market will play games with you. This isn't like, oh, it just goes up in a straight line, and look at how stupid simple is that. Any, you know, even a caveman can do it. You know, that's not how it works. And it doesn't go straight down neither. So, you know, if you're going to take this from one day to another, you know, think about it. And understand the market is there to trap you all the time. It's to give you head fakes. No different in sports. You know, how many times does the quarterback, you know, if you're, and again, I hate doing this, but I feel like somebody's going to understand these analogies. If you're a quarterback and then you're a linebacker, you're trying to watch the quarterback's eyes, right? To see where he's throwing. You're not watching his body movement. You're trying to watch where he's looking. And a good quarterback knows that you're watching his eyes. And so he'll do something where he's looking right, but he's, you know, really he has his eye on the receiver to his left. And that's to fake you out. You know? Any of these, you know, a jump shot in basketball, right? You do like a little pump fake. The pump fake is to get you to the defender to like jump. So you know, we're all humans. This market is a human game. You know, I don't care. Algos are created from quants programming, you know, that algo to work systematically. And, you know, there's head fakes. So don't fall for the pump, right? Don't fall for the fake. You know, be on the lookout. That's why this game can be tricky, you know, and you're the dope that falls for it. Don't be the dope. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. I will see you guys in 2026, maybe at the end of 2025. You know, be on the lookout. I would say subscribe and to the channel. Definitely subscribe and click the notifications, because there are times that I come on surprisingly and like, hey, I see something or whatever, and I'll just jump on live. I feel it's always easier to show you guys things in real time or show you something. I explain things through charts. I don't just do a lot of like just long form talking. A lot of stuff I do is, you know, a show. Obviously somebody's calling in. But if you guys got questions or anything else, here's the address to the office. We'd love to see you guys in person. Stop by at the office. Priescapital.com is the main website. Our office number, which somebody's calling in right now. The email, if you're trading, info@teamdaytrader.com, and then the website, trading website, is teamdaytrader.com. As always, learn, trade, profit, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Take it easy, James. See you, Robert, and anybody else who's watching this channel.